People want to have a one-stop shop. They need us for now all these different services, not just the heating and air side.
When things are going wrong, you want the company that's going to be able to get things done as fast as possible for you.
Today we're going to be in over 600 homes. What the customers can count on is we're going to send a competent person to your home with a vehicle that's stocked and prepared. We're going to do what's right.
Right now, we're waiving our $79 service fee with any Coolray, Brite Box, or Mr. Plumber service.
We all need hot water. Some of us need more than others. So it's a good thing that State has a wide range of tough commercial-grade water heaters for your home. From standard models to high-efficiency and tankless models, we've got you covered, no matter where you live, what you do, or who started it. To install a State water heater in your home, visit statewaterheaters.com and use our contractor locator to find an installer near you.
The following is a special presentation of Extreme eSpeed TV, your new home for everything iRacing and eSpeed.
Good evening, race fans. We are back with the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series, and we are at Bristol Motor Speedway for tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic for the 6th event on our 2022 schedule. As always, I'm Travis Piercefield, and I am joined tonight, as usual, by Adam Johnson. Adam, we're to the 6th race of the season now at Bristol Motor Speedway. Should be an exciting night, and it's easy to jump ahead, but let's take a look back at last week real quick as we headed to Weed Sport. Dylan Perry was able to claim the victory, but not without some controversy in that final corner that gave some troubles on restarts throughout the night.
It certainly did, and it was a track that showed us a lot of things that we hadn't seen, but a lot of things that we had seen earlier in the season. And of course, what we were referencing last week was Tater Williams. Tough break for Tater. He was leading much of the race. It looks like he was en route to his first win of the season in the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series. Nonetheless, we had a restart where he jumped a little early, and that allowed Dylan Perry to really take that lead and never look back. We saw someone like Justin Thompson. He was there. He was there all night. He is Mr. Consistency. We should expect that again tonight. But for Dylan Perry, this is scary for the rest of the field because Dylan has 2 wins on the season, and there's no reason to think that, especially if he qualifies well, he can't do it again tonight.
We've got cars on the track here for hot laps before Houston Guttering time trials here shortly in about 19 minutes. Quick out to the top of the charts is Aiden Young, Dylan Perry, Zach Chapman, John Foskey now up to P3. Very quickly seeing the cars that have been fast all year long continue to be fast. Looking at these times and looking ahead to tonight's race, Adam, anyone you're going to keep your eye on throughout the night?
This is a night where I think if you're going to be tuning in with us, whether it's the first time or even with us all season, you're going to want to watch the middle of the pack. This is a track where passing is going to be a little more difficult, but not saying it's not going to happen. What I'm saying is it's going to be difficult. This is where you're going to see the driver's skill level at its finest. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to look at some of those middle of the pack battles. I think the leaders will be able to hold it. I think where we're going to see, new leaders are going to be situations of restart. So there's a caution that might restack the deck, but watch the middle of the field. If you are a fan of driver skill and watching that play out, watch that tonight.
So Bristol Motor Speedway, the track known for its night race for the NASCAR Cup Series every fall, is now being invaded by the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series tonight for the Tennessee Moonshine Classic. Adam gave us a little preview, but after this commercial break, we'll come back with Adam's Notebook. You're watching Extreme eSpeed TV.
Racers, get the most horsepower from your crate engine with ProFabrication Headers and Exhaust. ProFabrication Headers and Exhaust is an official partner of the American Crate All-Star Series and used by winning racers such as Dylan Brown, Logan Robertson, Carson Ferguson, Christian Hanger, Cody Overton, and Eli Beats. ProFabrication Headers and Exhaust, just a click of a mouse away at ProFabrication.com. Quality that wins. Get yours at ProFabrication.com.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway for tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic for the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series. As always, we are joined by Adam Johnson. And Adam, your notebook is packed full going into tonight's events.
Yes, it sure is. And let me just get it out of my backpack here. Here it is, my notebook. Are we going with Adam's notebook, Adam's agenda, Adam's nuggets? Let us know in the comments. Maybe you have some opinions there. But I want to break down tonight. With last week's win, Dylan Perry is just 20 points back of points leader John Foskey. John had something come up last week. John was not able to race, so what did Dylan do? He closed the gap not only with a strong run, but with a win. So something to watch tonight is that points battle at the top. Of course, for the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series, this is the second trip to the Bristol Motor Speedway dirt track. Last year, we had Colby Horner win. He's no longer on the tour, so we are bound to get a new winner this year. So excited to look at that. We mentioned the point standings earlier, and these are all things we'll rehash throughout the broadcast tonight. But the top three, where are they all from? The sweet peach state of Georgia. So The Georgia boys, they have targets on their back. It'll be fun to watch how they all perform tonight. Those three, of course, being John Foskey, Dylan Perry, and Justin Thompson. Of course, we have to give credit to our 107 and Tires rookies. They're winning races this season, and this is a good opportunity for them to once again make a statement and punch a ticket. And finally, tonight is all about speed, momentum, and qualifying. In fact, there was no qualifying last year, so this is a whole new slate for us. We have nothing to draw back on from last year. I talked to a couple of the racers earlier today. What they're looking for is where they're going to qualify. They think that's going to have a big impact on how they finish in this race. So, Travis, I don't know about you. I think these notes are going to get more hefty. There's going to be more of them for next week. But for now, I think it's about time. We're about 13 minutes away from getting these cars out on the track for time trials, the Houston Guttering time trials, that is. So I'm really excited. These notes are only going to get more hefty.
And with that is Adam's notebook for this week as we are here at Bristol Motor Speedway. While we're digging into the notebook, history book, Bristol Motor Speedway was built in 1960, had its first NASCAR Cup Series race the next year in 1961. The .533 mile track has had multiple variations of it. Its current Coliseum feel didn't start actually until the mid-90s when it was sold to SMI, who currently owns it. And then we'll have some other fun facts that we've got along the way and we've dug up throughout the day. Yeah. So we will look into what type of dirt is on the track, where it came from, and what's gone on here with the dirt track racing the last couple of years that originally started in the early 2000s. So you're watching Extreme eSpeed TV. We appreciate you for tuning in. It's the official home of the Coolray Pro Dirt Late Model Series.
It rose from humble beginnings in the Valley of the Sun. A sprint car racer saw the need for racing shirts. And now, the vision of Carl Korbacher has resulted in Arizona sports shirts helping racers across America spread their message. For the best custom designed shirts, hoodies, caps, koozies, and much more, go to ArizonaSportShirts.com. Be part of history. Arizona Sport Shirts, the original racing shirt.
Hello, my name is Benny Boudreau and I created the Springrthm app. The Springrthm app allows someone who doesn't have access to a Spring Smasher to be able to set their car up to their manufacturer's suggested install loads and center to centers, as well as be able to figure out their dynamic loads, as well as make adjustments to them to make their handling of their car better. For someone who does have a Spring Smasher, Springrthm will greatly reduce the amount of time to figure out those new stack setups by allowing for instantaneous spring rate changes as well as load changes. Springrthm will even make sure that your setup doesn't coil bind at the loads that you're trying to hit. For only $4.99 a month, you too can have access to the same information that top late model teams across the country are using to gain a competitive advantage.
Racers that win, pour it in, and we appreciate you.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. We are at Bristol, Tennessee for the Tennessee Moonshine Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway, the famous half-mile track in Tennessee. It's the latest stop for the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series, Adam. And as we mentioned a little bit earlier, last year, they decided to put dirt back on the track. Before they had the NASCAR Cup Series here, they let the dirt guys out on there and have some fun with it. They returned back in 2022, so the NASCAR Cup Series will be here later in April, and we've got the dirt cars out here on the track tonight and the next few weeks to watch. And one quick note, last year was not the first time they did this. They actually did it back in 2000 and 2001, and actually some of the dirt that's on the track now was used that first time around over 20 years ago. So a lot of cool information. They spent a lot of time. It's special dirt we'll make a reference similar to Special Tires and Days of Thunder. Special dirt on the track, so plenty of storylines to come through that dirt tonight.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm kind of thinking about is, yes, we've had dirt racing on this track before, but that's 20 years ago. This is not there's part of the dirt from it. This is not the exact same dirt. It's not the exact same. No dirt track is the same as the other. No car is the same as the other. So I'm really curious to see how this type of racing compares to what we saw, kind of back in the day, early 2000s. And one thing I'm also curious about is, you and I, we like to get out to some dirt tracks, dirt races. We're usually the guys who are at kind of the smaller, more local dirt tracks. But you actually had a chance on the NASCAR Cup Series side of things to be in attendance for the return of the dirt race there last year. You brought the family out. How exactly was that? Was it dirtier than you expected?
It definitely was dirty. We sat in turn 1 down there in some lower level seats. It was really dusty. I think some things they learned last year, they had a lot of races on the dirt, especially that weekend for NASCAR. They had the Truck Series race earlier in the day than the Cup Series. So I think as they go through 2022, they're going to do some adjustments to the schedule. I think they've changed the dirt a little bit. It looks a little bit different this year. But as we look out at the track, it looks great. It looks like it's going to be a great racing service, not only for tonight, but the weeks ahead here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And as you see the crowd around the track, great crowd again for the Coolray Pro Late Model Series again tonight.
Absolutely. We've seen really great crowds all season. We've had great viewership on Extreme eSpeed TV's YouTube channel. So something we always like to encourage, whether it's on social media throughout the week or right now on the broadcast. We'd love for you guys to chime in. I know a couple weeks ago, we had a lot of participation with people in the comments letting us know who they thought they would win. And those comments changed a lot. We had some pretty wild racing. I'm expecting more of that tonight. But yeah, this is the surface that I think the drivers are eager to get on. We saw them run some practice laps. Aiden Young, of course, running strong. Dylan Perry right behind him with John Foskey in third. So if practice laps are any indication, we're going to see some speed out of guys that we've seen speed from all season. That might be to the chagrin of a lot of the guys behind them. But like I talked about earlier, an opportunity for them to catch up. And I'm really excited. Houston Guttering time trials are up next, right? Let's get this show going.
They are currently at their drivers' meeting. We've got Houston Guttering time trials, as you mentioned, Adam, coming up next. So we will take our last commercial break before we get cars on the track. You're watching Extreme eSpeed TV.
We take many precautions to stay protected. Online protection requires the same amount of precaution. Cybercrime is a $6 trillion industry. Roughly 158 people fall victim to this type of crime every second, and a business will be compromised every 11 seconds. In the last 3 years alone, the number of malicious websites has increased by 130%. Bottom line, you need protection from someone you trust. Call Computer Pros for protection plans as low as $4 a month.
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker, the future is feeling.
Dyer Trucking in Mohawk, Tennessee is family owned and operated, and their main goal is to always please their customers and deliver their freight in a timely manner. If you need it hauled and you're in East Tennessee, the number you need is 423-393-4229. That's 423-393-4229. Dyer Trucking's also on Facebook. Pick up the phone and give Brad and his family a call today. Dyer Trucking. If you need it, they can get it. Find them on Facebook.
New year, new season.
season. Extreme eSpeed TV brings you live coverage of the Light Electric Company Next Gen Series. See the Next Gen Series' biggest stars battle in iRacing's most competitive series. Elbows up, hammer down action. The Light Electric Company Next Gen Series, live on Extreme eSpeed TV. Your home for everything eSpeed.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. Again, the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series in Bristol, Tennessee for the Tennessee Moonshine Classic here at the Half Mile Oval. Famous for its asphalt racing, but getting very popular with the dirt racing. Adam, do you kind of want to jump in and see what kind of evening we have ahead here in Bristol?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at these conditions. A beautiful 65 degrees Fahrenheit, no chance of rain, so a lot of us are happy to see that. Clear skies and a little 3-mile-per-hour wind. Shouldn't have too much of an impact. Of course, you mentioned the track length, just about 0.5 to just over a half mile. Of course, you're going to notice we've got the owner-director, Cody Early, putting this on. Thank you to Cody. Race director will be Melvin Young and Cardin Cochran as his assistant. Flagman will be Robbie Gold. Pace truck driver, we might mention him more than once, Mr. Terry Patterson. So it's going to be a great night. We're just about to Houston Guttering time trials. Some names that we want to watch out for. Keep an eye on Aiden Young. I might tip my cards right now, but Aiden Young, I'm looking for him to join the 2-win club tonight with Dylan Perry and John Foskey.
As we mentioned, Adam, we've got 3 rookies with wins this year. Dylan Perry with 2, John Foskey with 2, Aiden Young with 1 in Volusia. You're leaning towards Aiden Young. Is there anyone that hasn't won yet that you think is primed to add their name to the list of winners in 2022?
I think tonight it could go one of 2 ways for Mr. Justin Thompson. Justin, Mr. Consistency, he's always in the mix. This is one of the nights where he could make a statement, punch his ticket with a win, or I could also see it kind of be one of those races. It's a hard race to kind of get, strategic passing. I could also see him falling back to 8th to 10th. It's hard to sustain the type of racing he's done. That's why I'm very impressed. So Aiden Young first, and I'll say Justin Thompson second.
Looking at our top 5 fastest from hot laps earlier tonight, Aiden Young, Dylan Perry, John Foskey, Justin Thompson, Tater Williams. It's hard to beat those 5, and those 5 have been consistently fast all season long, Adam. Then when you get into the second half of the top 10, some different names. DC Smith, Brandon Bender, who was fast in Volusia. Brett Carlton actually had the fastest time last week at Weed Sport. Zach Chapman, I haven't seen his car yet. Hopefully we got the Scooby-Doo paint scheme back.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jacob Lassiter rounding out the top 10. So plenty of talent throughout this field. And it'll be interesting to see, as always, how this track changes. During hot laps, we were seeing them down towards the low side of the asphalt track, so about middle of the dirt track. It'll be interesting to see how wide that gets throughout the night.
It will be, and it's so fascinating because we'll watch practice so intently. We'll even watch the heat races so intently, and it's not always how it plays out when they actually drop the green flag for the main showdown. So I'm excited to see where these guys shape out. I do like what you mentioned about that middle pack. Tater Williams. I mean, this is the guy he's the defending champ. He's the guy we should all be watching. And if he didn't have the penalty last week, jumping the restart, he would have been in victory lane once again. Another name to watch, Mr. Brandon Bender. I believe he was points runner-up last year. So Brandon, it's time for him to make a statement. I think the guys have had a lot of opportunities this past week to just get laps in, get a lot of practice. We'll see if that pays off. I know I talked to some guys earlier today who they got off work a little bit early. They wanted to get in the rig. They wanted to see how they felt. And I think there's a lot of confidence, but there can only be one winner. So I'm eager to see who is most confident and who actually puts it and parks it in victory lane.
Well, when you look at the schedule for 2022, Bristol Motor Speedway has to be one they circle as just a unique track that you want to win at. So we've been to Volusia, we've been to the dirt track at Charlotte, Weed Sport last Wednesday, Bristol Motor Speedway here tonight, and then next week we will be at Cedar Lake Speedway. That'll be our last event as we're off in April and we'll be back in May. So lots of action on the track the next 2 weeks. Guys are going to want to grab as many points as they can and then go into that break. It'll be the second lengthy break we've had thus far, and it looks like the series is ready for some qualifying. as it looks like Brandon Bender might be the first one coming up to line up and get out on the track, Adam.
Yep, we're going to take a look here at our internal scoring and timing. Looks like we have Brandon Bender and Mr. Andy Piercefield, who missed last week traveling, but he's back this week. Happy to see him back on the track. Always has one of the most fine-looking cars out there. So, yeah, look at that. The Coolray blue and white, got the Extreme eSpeed TV. I always like a guy who can rep the brand, rep the network. So I always appreciate that. But like you said, we got a full schedule ahead. So hopefully you can savor this week and next week. We're going to have some time off in April. So even moments like time trials, soak it in, enjoy it. These are guys performing their craft as we see Mr. Cody Terry start to pull out. We'll see if he fully gets going. He's technically out. Just waiting on more.
And Houston Guttering time trials, Adam, 2 laps. Each driver makes their rounds as they go, and it's actually the 95 of Dylan Hutchinson's out on the track. Dylan Hutchinson comes from Holtz, Summit, Missouri, and his Longhorn CBR 25 ZD Photos Comb Cuts KMJ Graphics makes his first lap, and his best lap is going to be a 16.12.
And we'll bring it over now. So we have Jacob Lassiter. Mr. Lassiter with Rayburn Chassis, Custom Race Engines, 399 Esports, Flex Motorsports, Max Green, and CFM Designs as he makes some laps. Looks like he pulled a 16.13. That puts him in 4th. Justin Thompson now out there. A lot of quick times taking place.
So open qualifying tonight for the Tennessee Moonshine Classic. Justin Thompson shoots to the top of the charts with a 16.03. Steven Spees out there now makes his second lap. Currently second with a 16.10. And his second time, slightly slower, so he will end with a 16.10 and second on the charts for now. Some others we had, Dylan Perry was 4th fastest. Dylan Hutchinson ended up 5th. Jacob Lassiter 6th. Zach Chapman 7th. Tater Williams 8th. John Foskey 9th. Colin Boyles 10th. And Jordan Van Westen 11th. As we'll have the next 8 drivers out here shortly. Some guys not quite as quick as we thought, especially from hot laps earlier. Tater Williams, his lap was a 16.14. And now we've got the second group kicking off with Dustin Kenyon and his 00.
That's right, Dustin Kenyon with the Longhorn Chassis. He's with Kenyon Racing, Catch Fence Apparel Company, CBR, Wares Machine, and CFM Designs by JDM. A little wiggly there. We'll see where that puts Mr. Kenyon. A lot of action. We're going to jump now into Carrier Heat number 1. The evening is flying by. So here are your qualifying results. You have Justin Thompson, Steven Spees, Aiden Young, Dylan Perry, and Dylan Hutchison rounding out the top 5. So as we jump into Carrier Heat number 1, your top dog, Justin Thompson, on top next to Dylan Perry, Zach Chapman, and Colin Boyles. Second row. Third row will be Jordan Van Westen and Brian Boyles. And rounding out the rear is Mr. Cody Terry.
Should be 3 heats tonight with the amount of cars that we have, Adam. So we will get started with Coolray Heat Race number 1. It's Terry Patterson's out in the iRacing Pace Truck tonight here at Bristol Motor Speedway. A little bit different camera angles here as the ceiling and the announcing booth is much higher than normal. So we'll get a little bit of a different angle here. The iRacing Pace Truck has his lights off, and they'll do at least one more lap, it looks like. So we're so high I can't even see if the lights are on the Pace Truck.
It's hard. Everything's so different. You know, different airports, different rental cars. Everywhere we go around this series, it's something new. But this is a good group right here. This is a group that is going to provide some entertainment. And I see that Scooby-Doo car back out there, and that's a sight for sore eyes.
Not only was it a fan favorite, it was a booth favorite last week. We had comments in our YouTube chat. Speaking of, if you're there tonight, feel free to chat with us. We've got it open. We can talk about heat races, racing in general, or anything else. Adam is quite the philosopher as well.
Relationship advice is welcome. Anything you need, we're here for you. And what we have for you tonight, guaranteed, is great racing.
They come around, and they are green at Bristol. Justin Thompson, Dylan Perry leads them as Dylan Perry jumps out to a lead going through 1 and 2.
Great start there for Justin Thompson. I want to see how he races this. He's been consistent in every track, so I want to see what he does to stay so consistent at Bristol tonight.
Crossover move by Perry coming out of 4. Thompson's able to hold on and lead as he holds off Perry, but we'll see how long he can, as we've got lap traffic coming up right ahead as they go into 3 and 4.
Not quite sure what happened to Jordan Van Westen, but his lap traffic will play a role. But it looks like Justin Thompson, even with the crossover, even right here, he's able to hold his line. He's enjoying that top line. I like where his wheel placement is.
Perry had a run there in 3 and 4 that one lap. Thompson jumped in on the inside, forced Perry to the outside, and the crossover almost threw Perry off where he wasn't able to make the move and is still stuck behind the 98 machine of Thompson as they go through 1 and 2.
You got to think, if this is the main event, you might see Perry make a little bit of contact there, but I like this racing right now. It's competitive and no need for clashing.
They'll come to 4 laps to go as Thompson's able to lead all the laps thus far. Perry falls in behind him, trying to see what Thompson's doing, as that outside lane has been fastest so far.
There's no reason to think right now that Thompson is going to give this one up. I think he had a few regrets from last week, things he could have done. But he was happy with the second place finish. I think he wants to get the checkered flag. It looks like he's motivated and ready tonight.
You see Perry in behind him, really starting to push the issue now as he's seen what Thompson does, still sticks behind him, maybe just collecting information before tonight's main event and not trying to force anything as he tries to make a move on the outside, unable to hold it coming out of 2.
I don't want to speak too early, but that looked like his opportunity. But he is continuing to hold that bottom line. I don't know if it's the preferred line or not, but we'll see as we're under a lap to go.
Really trying to make that inside lane move, unable to make the move as they come off of the corner. Thompson will lead go through 3 and 4. Perry makes one more attempt as he dives it in. They get together in 4, and it's going to be Perry at the line, and Zach Chapman grabs second right at the finish as well.
Complete carnage right there. Unbelievable finish to Kerry.
And Carrier Heat Race number 1 comes to a close. Let's get that finishing lineup, Adam. Dylan Perry was able to...
Steven Spees.
They are lined up. Steven Spees, Dylan Hutchinson, Tater Williams, DC Smith, Brandon Bender, and John Hine in Carrier Heat Race number 2 here at Bristol. The iRacing Pace Truck out ahead as they'll do at least one more lap. Steven Spees, Dylan Hutchinson will lead us back to green for Carrier Heat Race number 2 here at the Tennessee Moonshine Classic this evening at Bristol Motor Speedway. Again, Terry Patterson leads the field around this half-mile track. Much different than last week at Weed Sport, which the 3/8 mile had tons of action and definitely felt small compared to the half-mile tracks we've been on thus far this season, as the iRacing Pace Truck should dive in this time by. He does. Steven Spees, Dylan Hutchinson, round turn 4. And we are back to green at Bristol Motor Speedway for Carrier Heat Race number 2. Spies and Hutchinson take a start into 1 and 2 as Spies is able to pull away, but Hutchinson on that outside lane trying to make something work as Spies cuts him off on the backstretch.
There was contact in the back. DC Smith and Harden Cochran clear contact, but they're still racing.
And Spies is able to pull away as Hutchinson falls into second. And we've got Tater Williams on the inside trying to make that same line that Perry was unable to make work.
And this is exactly like last week. Tater Williams played that role. Before he took his lead, he was hunting. He was even hunting down late in the race last week when he was trying to recapture the lead. So there's no one scarier behind you than Tater Williams, but right now Steven Spies is holding his own.
It looks like DC Smith's headed to the pits after that contact early in the race as Steven Spies is able to pull away over 0.3 of a second ahead of Hutchinson.
Hutchinson is also very consistent. Would love to see him get a top 5 tonight. I like that he's holding his own in that second spot, but does he have, what we saw in that last heat, does he have enough to take over the top spot? And we spoke a little early about Justin Thompson. We guaranteed a carrier heat race victory too soon, so I'm not going to do it now, but it does look like Steven Spies has an even greater lead than what we saw in the past heat.
This heat has them spread out single file around the half-mile track. Spies, Hutchinson, and Tater Williams with Brandon Bender in fourth. Plenty of fast cars in this race as they all circle around that high side line.
Well, and they're spread out right now, but you look at the gap difference. I mean, the top 4 drivers are less than a second apart, so they're still very close. It's all about how do you make your moves on these turns. That's where it looks like momentum is being gained, ground is being made up. How do they gain in the corners? I'm going to watch that all night, not only in this carrier heat race, as we see Hutchinson get a little bit closer.
Hutchinson makes his move as they're on their final lap. There's Tater Williams trying to make a move on the inside, seeing what he can get as they head down the backstretch. As we ride along with Steven Spies, he'll round 3 and 4, comes out of 4, and he will claim victory in carrier heat race number 2 at Bristol.
From start to finish, that was pure domination. As we take a look at the final results in that one, Spies, Hutchinson, Williams, Bender, Hine, Smith, and Cochran. That's right, carrier heat race number 3. One of the fastest men in practice, Aiden Young, starting up top next to Jacob Lasseter. In the second row, John Foskey and Brett Carlton. In third row, Dustin Kenyon and Andy Piercefield. A lot of good names I want to watch out of here. I want to see Andy back. He missed last week. Excited to see what he can put down. Brett Carlton had a really fast lap last week. We'll see if he has speed tonight. Aiden Young looked great in practice. Not as great during the Houston Guttering time trials. And Foskey, he's got a couple wins on the year. So it's we have a lot of storylines. Even with Lasseter, he's always in the mix. So I'm excited as we explore some of these new camera angles this week on Extreme eSpeed TV. Got Aiden Young with the Coolray colors. Looks like the lights are off in that pace truck driven by Mr. Terry Patterson. So hopefully next time by he'll pull off and we'll continue this great racing tonight.
Aiden Young will lead us to green. He's already picked up a victory earlier this season at Volusia. Outside of him, you've got Jacob Lasseter, who has won in the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series before. He won last year, and it's going to be interesting to see who can come out of this as we will have the field set after our carrier heat race number 3. The iRacing Pace Truck dives into pit road off of turn 4. Aiden Young and Jacob Lasseter bring us down the front stretch, and we are back to green at Bristol as Aiden Young and Lasseter are side by side going into 1 and 2. Lasseter with that fast outside line, but Aiden Young's able to cut him off as they go into 3 and 4.
Yes, very fast outside line for Lasseter. In fact, you saw, Brett Carlton, you saw those guys kind of join him up top. But Aiden Young, he's owning that top lane. It's going to be hard to pass him if you stay in the same lane as him.
Great battle for 3rd and 4th between the 24 of Brett Carlton and John Foskey in that 128 as they get sorted out single file and jump in behind Lasseter and Young as Young leads again as they go into 1 and 2.
Young is looking good. he kind of showed this in practice. I'm not sure exactly what happened in his laps during the Houston Guttering time trials, but I think there was no need to worry. As we look just behind him, you can see the Lassiter is not giving up an inch in that beautiful car. Dirt's starting to hit him in the face, and that's what the benefit is for Aiden Young. Nothing's hitting him in the face right now.
Lassiter falls in line as they all move up. We've gradually slid up the track throughout these carrier heat races, and Aiden Young's able to lead them again as they go through 1 and 2 with a 4-car freight train leading the pack.
They are just continuing the same pace right now, same distance. No one's really making a big dive. We saw that in the first carrier heat race. A lot of diving down, a lot of just large swings, but not the case here. As we see almost a little bit of a slip up there by Aiden Young, but Jacob Lassiter still holds about the same distance back.
This time by, we'll have 2 laps to go. We've heard from the drivers throughout the day. They think the high side's going to be where it's going to be at. They are wondering where the passing opportunities are going to be, and that's what we've seen in these carrier heat races, is kind of falling in line, following each other, see what each other's doing, holding on for that card of I can make a move here, I can make a pass here for later in the night, as Aiden Young takes the white flag.
Barring any chaos, I think Aiden Young's going to take this, and rightfully so. He is just showing consistency in his runs.
Aiden Young comes out with Lassiter. They make it through 3 and 4, and Aiden Young will claim victory in our carrier heat race number 3 at Bristol.
We talked a lot about Aiden Young and Jacob Lassiter, but let's take a look at the boys behind them who put on a great show for us as well. Brett Carlton, John Foskey, Dustin Kenyon, and Andy Piercefield rounding out the rest of the carrier heat race lineup. So with that, looks like we should be heading to the Combs Cut Last Chance Showdown. That'll be 12 laps. And before that, before you know it, we'll be into the feature race.
So the Combs Cut's Last Chance Showdown coming up, and we've got 8 cars in this field, starting with Brian Boyles first, next to him John Hine, second row Dustin Kenyon next to Cody Terry, row 3 DC Smith and Andy Piercefield, and row 4 Jordan Van Westen and Cardin Cochran will round out this 8-car field. As Adam said, 12 laps to set our main event in tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic at Bristol.
So these are some names that I'm excited to watch, really, not only now, but in the future. So, these are guys that have been in the league for a while. Cochran is the name that I don't know too much about, so I'm also very excited to watch how he runs this evening, not just in the Last Chance Showdown. So, some good action to come. If you enjoyed any of that like we did, there were some, especially in that first heat race, I really enjoyed the intensity we saw there, a wild finish. I'm expecting some wild finishes, in this race when it comes to those last 5-10 laps. Because you saw when it came down to the line, suddenly the gap got smaller and things got more intense. So excited to see what we have here in the 12-lap Combs Cut Last Chance Showdown.
John Hine, Brian Voiles lead us as we look back at the 00 Dustin Kenyon. Terry Patterson dives the iRacing pace truck into pit road. Voiles and Hine come out of 4, and we are green in the Combs Cut's Last Chance Showdown at Bristol. They're side by side going into 1 and 2.
Hine taking that low lane, kind of because he has to, but wow, watch that speed right there. I wonder if Voiles is going to be able to take it over. Hine's got that top spot. Voiles just behind him. Andy Piercefield moving up a couple of spots. He's in 4th right now. Running pretty solid as you see this beautiful camera angle. I could sit there all day and watch that.
John Hine's able to take the lead over Brian Voiles as we've got 10 laps to go here at Bristol. Hine fast as he's up high. The rest of them fall in line. Hine, Voiles, Terry, Piercefield, Kenyon, Smith, and Van Westen as Cardin Cochran has dropped out of this event so far with 7 cars left out on the track.
That's right. Andy Piercefield up 2 spots, still holding strong in 4th. Also up 1 spot is Cody Terry. So the only one who's dropped right now in that top 3, Brian Voiles from the lead. But he's not giving up any inches either to John Hine. We get a little Beautiful camera angle looking at the rear there. They are close, and there's a little bit of contact, but not enough to shift anybody. Looking great there as we enjoy this sunny day at Bristol Motor Speedway.
As you see the 41 make a move on Hine, he's unable to get up beside him as Hine's able to pull away coming out of 4 as he leads another lap with 7 laps to go in the Combs Cut's Last Chance Showdown.
And Brian Boyles getting closer. Then, you see John Hine pull away. So I will give credit to John. He's got beautiful pull-away speed right now. I'm curious, though, if he can still hold it. If Boyles gets a little bit closer and continues to dive bomb a little bit, I'm not opposed to seeing a little bit of sheet metal banging there in a couple of the corners.
They're single file around the track. Hine, Boyles, Terry, Piercefield, Kenyon, and DC Smith, your top 6. Jordan Van Westen rounds out the cars out there on the track as Hine is able to stretch his lead to a 0.3 seconds as they make their way around 3 and 4 for another lap complete. 4 laps to go.
You have Hine and Boyles continuing to hold that 1-2 spot, but really the quickest lap we've seen tonight, ironically, is from Dustin Kenyon and DC Smith. They've got a 16.33, but just not able to gain enough ground. It's hard to gain ground right now, at least that's what the track's showing us, as we see a beautiful dive at the bottom there by Brian Boyles. He wants it, he's trying it. Behind is holding tall, holding high right now. But I do think Brian Boyles, with 3 laps to go, will have at least maybe 1, maybe 2 more chances to make one last dive, try to overtake him in the Combs Cut Last Chance Showdowns. We have just 2 laps to go.
We've seen this all night. That second place car tries to make a move, just unable to get it done as that outside car is able to get momentum through the corner. Hine comes around, gets the white flag from Robbie Gold. Our last lap before our main event. Boyles tries to make a move on the backstretch. He's unable to. They fall in line as the top 3 have pulled away. John Hine comes out of 4, and he will be our Combs Cut Last Chance Show. Oh! He slowed down right at the end and actually will take home 3rd as Brian Boyles gets him right at the finish. Cody Terry 2nd as we'll bring up that finishing grid from that consolation race tonight.
Not quite sure what happened, if he thought maybe he got to the line, but you're seeing what we're seeing, folks. John Hine finishes 3rd after a dominant, I'd say 99.4% of that race. Credit to Brian Boyles, though. He stood up. He stood tall.
So the field is set for our Tennessee Moonshine Classic tonight, Adam, here at Bristol Motor Speedway. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got the national anthem, invocations, and then the main event, the feature event, the Tennessee Moonshine Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway. You're watching Extreme eSpeed TV.
.107 Tire and Service Center is your one-stop shop for all your car care needs, and they're now a Cooper Tire dealer. American tires for the American worker. Buy a set of Cooper tires and get free tire rotation and repairs for the life of the tire. They have a 12,000-mile or 12-month warranty on most repairs. Check out 107 Tire and Service Center. They're located at 6256 Irwin Highway, Chuckey, or call them at 423-620-4970. For all your car care needs, 107 Tire and Service Center. Family owned and operated. And their #1 goal is your satisfaction. Find 107 Tire and Service Center on Facebook or call them today at 423-620-4970.
People want to have a one-stop shop. They need us for now all these different services, not just the heating and air side.
When things are going wrong, you want the company that's going to be able to get things done as fast as possible for you.
Today, we're going to be in over 600 homes. What the customers can count on is we're going to send a competent person to your home with a vehicle that's stocked and prepared. We're going to do what's right.
Right now, we're waiving our $79 service fee with any Coolray, Brite Box, or Mr. Plumber service.
We all need hot water. Some of us need more than others. So it's a good thing that State has a wide range of tough commercial-grade water heaters for your home. From standard models to high-efficiency and tankless models, we've got you covered, no matter where you live, what you do, or who started it. To install a State water heater in your home, visit statewaterheaters.com and use our contractor locator to find an installer near you.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. We are preparing for tonight's feature event, the Tennessee Moonshine Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway. Before we get started, let's take it down to the track for dirt racing outreach invocation.
Hey iRacing fans, Dustin Jarrett here with Flow Racing. Appreciate what you all do, and at this time, we're going to go to the Lord in prayer for the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to gather here, to have this opportunity to maybe get away from the stresses of everyday life and just to come together as friends in this iRacing event, Lord. We're just asking you to be with the participants, help them to make wise decisions throughout the event, Lord. Be with all of us and help us with the decisions that we make in everyday life, Lord, and we might make the decisions that will help draw us a little bit closer to you. Lord, we're so thankful for the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, as we know it's through him we have an opportunity to spend eternity with you, and we ask all of this in his precious and holy name. Amen.
And tonight's national anthem. The race fans here at Bristol are ready to go, and so are us up here in the booth. When we return, we will have our picks and a preview of tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway. You're watching Extreme eSpeed TV. Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway as we are getting ready for tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic 40-lap event here at Bristol Motor Speedway. A lot of action in that carrier heat race and last chance showdown, Adam. Little brother Andy Jr. down on pit road sent you some information that he collected after those heat races. Do you want to dive into that information?
Yeah, we've got some storylines to watch. I think with Justin Thompson, don't think he was happy with how he was raced there towards the end of that heat race. So I think Justin is going to race pretty hard, rightfully so. It's hard when you're fighting for every inch you got and you feel like you got a little disrespected on the track. We haven't had too much of that drama here in the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series this season, so interested to see how that plays out, whether it's early, late in the race, or not at all, and just remembered for later in the season. As we look at the Tennessee Moonshine Classic starting lineup, on the top, it'll be Dylan Perry next to Steven Spies. Second row will be Aiden Young and Zach Chapman, followed by Hutchison and Lassiter, Thompson and Williams, Carlton and Boyles, Bender and Foskey. Be your first 6 rows, and then of course we'll have Boyles and Terry, Hine and Piercefield, Kenyon and Smith, Van Weston and Cochran rounding out the rear. So 40 laps, got a lot of action ahead of us. If you think you've seen anything, I think these drivers are about to put on a great show for us. And, as the pace truck makes his laps around, I do want to confirm my picks. I'm sticking with Aiden Young. He's starting third. Travis, I know you're fond of a few guys. Who's the one that you're kind of jumping onto right now?
Well, you've got Dylan Perry starting first. Hard to go against him. He's been fast every race we've had. I'm going to go with the Scooby-Doo machine. Zach Chapman, great starting spot tonight outside row number 2. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in that Scooby-Doo machine and see what kind of damage he can do in that rut row number 72.
Well, I think if there's any mystery to be solved, it's how do you get around this. So you'll notice on your screen we're going to get a few things reset there in the lap count. Pace truck lights are out, so that means we will be going green soon here from Bristol.
iRacing pace truck driven by Terry Patterson dives down to pit road. Perry and Spies round turn 4. And we are green in the Tennessee Moonshine Classic from Bristol Motor Speedway. Side by side throughout the field as Dylan Perry's able to pull away as he goes into 1 and 2.
Just listen to those engines roar. I've been waiting for this all week, and you know who else has been? Aiden Young quickly makes a move to the bottom. He's starting third. He's back to about second, I'd say, right now, but he is not done yet. 4 wide roughly from Bristol there in the middle of the pack. Something we're going to have to keep an eye on all night.
They continue to battle back in the pack about 8th through 12th. as Hutchinson, Voiles, Tater Williams all battle trying to get up to the front as Dylan Perry's pulled away here early in the Tennessee Moonshine Classic.
Perry's pulled away, but Spees, Young, and Chapman are bumping and grinding right now. Look at that, roughly 3 wide, and if you drop Aiden back a little bit, you'd be 4 wide. 3 wide, continue. We got a little bit of contact. No caution yet. Will we see a caution? Yes, we do, and you kind of saw that coming in, even though the 98 tried to recover it. Justin Thompson just wasn't able to. We'll see if we can get a replay here. Let's take a look at this Coolray instant replay. I want you to watch.
This is actually further back in the pack, Adam.
There was contact everywhere. I was about to say, it didn't look like there was much damage there to Mr. Thompson, and yeah, a lot going on. So our first caution of the night, not the kind of track where we expect a ton of cautions, but when we do, they're usually for size.
And it's interesting to see our carrier heat races and even the last chance showdown, a lot of single file racing around the entire track. We've gotten 5 laps complete here tonight in the Tennessee Moonshine feature event, and there was racing all over the track, 4 wide, multiple spots throughout the field. Really going to lead to a great night of racing tonight here, Adam.
Great night indeed. And one thing you'll see that's different between asphalt racing and dirt racing is, yeah, you get those single file lines where on asphalt it might be really hard to pass. You kind of, in a mundane race, feel to it. But what I like about dirt racing, yeah, they might run a straight line, but as soon as you dive into those corners, you'll see them span 3, almost 4 wide. Usually 4 doesn't go successfully very long, so I'm excited to watch them dive down out of these single file lines, and as we saw right there, I mean, 4 laps in, there was chaos to be had.
Lots of passing already. The top 4 remain as they started. Dylan Perry, Steven Spees, Aiden Young, Zach Chapman. Lassiter and Thompson have both moved up a couple spots as we cycle through here. Some pit stops being made, convoys, and that one machine that got in the wall in the pit right now. But lots of racing throughout the field, all over, and really almost a completely different script thus far from the heat races earlier tonight as the iRacing pace truck continues to lead the field here. Looks like the lights are still on, so we'll make at least one more lap.
And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Right from the start, you saw Aiden Young jump up, and it's like, oh man, that's a tough break for Steven Spees. But credit to Steven Spees, he did not give up that. He's still in second place right now. He was able to battle back. Maybe he did not get the start to the race that he wanted when that green flag dropped, but credit to him. That's just the good racing from Spees, and I want to see that battle all night long between he and Aiden Young.
As they continue to make some rounds, sorting out the field, it looks like. We had some great racing. There was a good battle between the 72 of Chapman, Lassiter, and that 51 machine, and the 98 of Justin Thompson. And then Aiden Young was trying to make some move. He was really one of the first drivers to dive down low in a corner and try to take advantage of that inside lane, as it's definitely darkened up down there, but that high side continues to provide the momentum for the drivers racing up there.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if we're going to see a point in this race where the leader is right in the bottom lane. I think if you can be the leader and you can have that high line, you're playing defense the whole time and you're just trying to survive as long as you can there.
And it's going to be interesting. Young has been known to pick a line. He did it at Volusia. It might not have been the fastest early in the race, but he stuck with it and it paid off there. It'll be interesting to see who can maybe pick a line, make it pay off in the end, even though it might not be the fastest here at the early stage of this race, as we've got 40 laps down of the 40 for the Tennessee Moonshine Classic. The iRacing pace truck dives down pit road. Perry and Spees will lead us back to green at Bristol, as Dylan Perry's able to get a great start and take the lead going into 1 and 2 with Spees, Chapman, and Aiden Young on the inside.
And Aiden Young continues on these restarts to take that bottom line, and it continues to pay off as we see about 3 wide there in the middle of the pack. But Dylan Perry was like a rocket ship when that green flag dropped, and it'll be hard to catch up. It feels like you're just battling to keep up with him right now, let alone try and pass him. Good luck. Oh, accident there in the back. We're going to see if we can pull a replay up for you. But, man, there looked like more than a few cars involved there.
It looked like Justin Thompson had gotten into the wall in 1 and 2, and that's what started this wreck that collected a few others as it went on.
Yeah, Thompson gets right into the fence. You see that 75, looks like Got Piercefield involved there. Yeah, there's a lot of familiar names there. Hopefully it's not too damaging to their night, though.
Looked like the 25 of Cody Terry was also involved in that. Some of the leaders also ended up coming back around through that. 7 laps complete. Dylan Perry had a great start there on that last restart as he continues to lead here at Bristol.
And anytime he gets a lead like that, I have flashbacks, a little PTSD to a couple of these past races where we've had, jump in the restart penalties. So I hope that he can continue to dominate these restarts, but do it without fault, because I know it can be devastating to, your night. You wait all week for these races. So hoping we have a clean, penalty-free race, because these restarts, I mean, it's all about timing. It's all about just consistency, and that's what he's shown all season. So credit to Dylan Perry. He's making it very hard for the guys like Spees and Young, who are running really well, to make a move and catch them.
Some guys that have been successful here early. John Hine up 6 spots. He's currently in the top 10 and 9th. Dustin Kenyon in that 00 machine also moved up a few spots early in this race. As they line them back up, it looks like they're going to go back to double file restart. We've seen throughout the season, Adam, they would restart them single file if we had some cautions that led to more cautions. But we will keep them double file here as 6 laps complete. iRacing Pace Truck lights are still on, so we'll do at least one more lap around this half-mile track.
And I'm a little surprised at having a couple cautions. We saw really no indication, except for on the last lap of one of those carrier heat races. Not the type of track, or not the type of surface where we usually expect a ton of cautions. So I think we'll get a little bit of an opening. I think we'll see some green flag running in a little bit. But these guys just need to get settled. They need to get a feel. They need to respect the guys around them, respect their lanes, and really settle in, which I think they will pretty soon.
Tell you what, Adam, the crowd really filled in since the start of this feature event, and you could hear them as they were driving 4 wide in multiple spots. You could hear them through the windows, through the thunder of the cars, and we could hear them up on their feet as the racing got started. Looking forward to getting back to action here shortly as they're lined up, double file, taking at least one more lap around Bristol. You can really see the corners are really starting to darken up, Adam.
Very much so. And if you think, we're enjoying the race, and imagine them, they're at the track, they get to enjoy this in person. We're way up here in the skybox. So, I'm seeing some of these guys test their tires. You see what looks to be maybe the 182 that is of Tater Williams. He's eager. This is a guy where he likes playing from behind. He'll catch you. No doubt about it. So we'll see if he can catch some of these guys now and maybe take a lead.
Terry Patterson drives the iRacing Pace Truck down pit road. Dylan Perry gets them back going green here at Bristol, takes the lead going into 1 and 2. Spees and Aiden Young continues to make that move on the inside as they'll make it 3 wide coming off of 2.
3 wide coming off of 2, and who's continually in that mix? Mr. Aiden Young. He's got that car that stands out 3 wide once again. Who would that be? Chapman. Spees holding that line. Spees just continues to cause a little bit of a fit there for Aiden Young as Aiden tries to get the inside, but you want the high line, and that's not what Aiden Young's able to get.
Aiden Young continues to go even lower in 3 and 4, really trying to make some move as Spees will pull away in second as we ride along on the front nose of Steven Spees.
Just look at the way he's working it, but Dylan Perry almost, let's see, we've got a caution. Caution once again. Like to see where this one came from.
They'll cycle them through as now we're on lap 10 of 40, 25% of the way through here. Getting them lined back up. Dylan Perry lined up next to Steven Spees, Aiden Young, Chapman, your top 4 still. As we mentioned, the 6th race on the 2022 Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series schedule. Next up, next Wednesday, Coolray Challenge race number 1 at Cedar Lake Speedway. And then we've got April off for a break. And then once May gets here, we are in the summer months of racing, Adam. We will be all over this great country at dirt tracks. Hopefully you can join us in person. If not, you can join us right here on Extreme eSpeed TV. Any tracks coming up that you're looking forward to, Adam?
I'm looking forward to really just, getting out of the humidity. We're in Georgia a lot. If there's any opportunity to kind of just explore new places, Cedar Lake Speedway, it just sounds beautiful. It sounds like there's a nice lake nearby that we can enjoy. I know you're a lake guy from Michigan. Have you been out to Cedar Lake Speedway? It'll be my first time there.
It's going to be my first time. Got some other tracks that are going to be my first on here. Another one I'm looking forward to, I-55 Speedway. That's in June. And then, of course, a treacherous one that is going to be the Chili Bowl in Tulsa later in the year in August, as it looks like they are lined up. We'll see what Terry Patterson has planned this time by, as it looks like he has pulled in. Dylan Perry will take us back to green at Bristol as Aiden Young, Spees, and Chapman tries to make a move as they go down into 1.
Keep watching Aiden Young. He loves that low line on restarts. But it looks like Spees gets a little push there from Chapman in the positive way. But Young is not giving up. It almost looks like Spees went a little too high. Aiden Young, can he slide back up the track? He's not able to. I don't even know if Aiden Young wants to slide up if he gets the opportunity.
The outside lines come in as they'll freight train around there. Aiden Young had an opportunity to jump up in front of Spees, but didn't make it, as he'll continue to use that low line. Dylan Perry leads the field in about the middle of the track and is pulled away to over a half-second lead.
I'm very curious, is it just not the right moment yet for Aiden Young to take that? Because now you see him, he's back in 3rd place. Great job by Steven Spees. He's holding that top line. Aiden Young, will he slide up here? He just won't. Zach Chapman, he's eventually going to get around. As we see the caution flag come out, looks like Jacob Lassiter, a little bit of a crash. We're going to see him. We can pull that up on the Coolray instant replay. Watch the 51 of Jacob Lassiter. Right there in the mix of it. Oh, just gets turned around. Don't think there was any intentionality there. And got caught up on the rear quarter panel, but he should be good to go, I would think.
It looks like they checked up, and then the Thompson machine got into the back of him, and that's what really stacked it up there in 3 and 4. Back to green. Dylan Perry has led thus far, but your pick with that caution flag has moved up to 2nd. It's going to be interesting. He's gonna restart on the outside, Adam, and he has not been up there at all tonight. So see if this is an opportunity, or see if he tries to dive back to the inside.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just not comfortable with the car riding that high line, or like you said, maybe he just hasn't had the opportunity. He's been 3rd on a lot of these restarts, possibly all of them. And so I think maybe this might be a time for him to see if he enjoys that top line. He's proven that if he needs to ride the bottom, he can. So if I'm Aiden Young, if I'm in the wheel right now, I'm going to ride that high line. If it doesn't work, you can always go back down and make up ground.
And we've seen him do this repeatedly throughout the season. I think Volusia is the one that stands out to me, Adam, where he just hung out on that inside line, and it eventually came in at the end and led him to victory. And really, some of the other fast cars were trying to get down into his line and weren't able to, because he had claimed that land down there, stuck his flag in that inside line, and it paid off for him.
Sure did. Now let's take a look here in the middle. We had right next to each other John Foskey and John Heim for a little bit. So the battle of the Johns, and let's give it up for John Foskey. The guy's got 2 wins on the season, missed last week, and is still very, very relevant in this series. I just don't know. I haven't seen enough from him so far tonight, even in the the time trials or the heat races, to think that he might take over the top spot. But I could be wrong. He is the points leader. There's no reason to disrespect that name at all.
The track has really come in. We've got it dark from the bottom to the top. The momentum on the outside continues to pay off for guys that are up there. Aiden Young's made that inside line work. Also, the 95 of Hutchinson was down low that last green flag run, trying to make it work as well. As their double file, Terry Patterson has brought it down pit road, and Dylan Perry, Aiden Young, round turn 4. He did not. He's still out there. He's so far ahead. I did not see Terry Patterson needs to maybe pump the brakes a little bit there, as he is way out there, actually coming out of 2 currently.
I don't know who he's pacing right now, but it's certainly not our poor cameraman who's just trying to keep up with the field right now.
Cameraman Chuck Cardell, native of Brownsville, Indiana, got our camera up on top for tonight. As let's see this time by if we are going back to green. Lights are off, and Dylan Perry has us back to green at Bristol. Steven Spees makes a move on the inside of Aiden Young, and Aiden Young now tries to fight back on that outside, coming through 1 and 2.
This will be fun to watch. We haven't seen Aiden Young at the outside all night, so I get the feeling he wants to be one of those guys down low, as he's not really picking up a ton of ground on Dylan Perry. Perry just far and away in a very short period of time, too.
It's interesting to see. It's a restart where you've got the inside line stuck on the inside. The guys on the outside will stay up top, as you've got Spees and the 95 of Hutchinson continue to try to make that inside line work as the outside line starts to stretch out around the track. But Dylan Perry's able to pull away here early with 26 laps to go.
I really want to see us get some long green flag racing right now, because these guys will start to get spread out. We're going to start to see the track change, and it's fun to watch lap by lap how the times change. Just notice that they're in the shadows right now. That is all going to change in these next 15 to 20 minutes, assuming we get a good green flag run going.
We'll ride along with Aiden Young as he follows Dylan Perry as you see the track really coming in. Aiden Young's been fast since moving up to that outside line. But speaking of fast times, Dylan Perry currently with the fastest time in the field by almost 1.5 tenths, as he's got a 16:39. Next closest is a 16:48. As Aiden Young's pulled away as well, and we've got a battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th behind him.
Yeah, let's sit back and watch this battle, and credit to them. They're sliding all around, not too much contact, which is what you'd like to see. This is where we get to see the skill of these drivers put on display. You're seeing who goes low, who goes high. Tater Williams not making up ground as fast as he did. He had a really fast car last week. I still think Tater has a fast car. It's just the track is not allowing him the opportunity to get a run.
And you can see some damage on his car. He's definitely tried to make it work tonight as he's down low, trying to pick up as much ground as possible. Currently up 3 spots since the start of this race, and continues to try to pick them off one by one as he makes his way through the field. Now with the 72, nope, John Foskey still to his outside as he goes through 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think Tater Williams had an opportunity to slide up, but what Tater also is not going to do, like you said, with that damage, he doesn't want to damage that car anymore. I think that was a business decision. We're still halfway of the race, just less than half of the race to go. We've got about 7 uninterrupted green flag laps that have been run. So, liking what we're seeing right now. A little bit of contact there on the wall, nothing but
So he's got Voiles, Lassiter, and Piercefield. We're back here battling for 12th. As Dylan Perry's pulled over a second lead, some battles throughout the field. You've got Spees and Chapman battling for 4th. Spees, tons of momentum going down the front or back stretch there on the inside of Chapman. But Chapman's able to battle back with that outside line as he comes back by.
Yeah, this track is showing, you don't need the speed. Yes, the speed is helping Dylan Perry and Aiden Young pull away, but this is a skill track. Don't let anybody tell you differently. They're showing skills. We're about almost 3 wide there, as you saw in that quick camera angle. So they're spending a lot of time splitting between the shadows and the sunlight right now. This track is changing, and it's changing by the minute.
We've got groups of cars battling all over. We had Chapman, Spees, Foskey for 3rd through 5th. Then you move back to Tater Williams, Carlton, and Hutchinson 6th through 8th battling for position. Tater Williams continues to try to make that inside work as a great battle between Spees, Foskey, and Chapman for 3rd place.
These are the guys, Chapman and Spees. I think if it ended right now, I don't know who I'd put in that 3rd or 4th spot. I'd say Chapman and Spees have definitely been well deserving of it. As before we know it, we're getting closer to 10 laps to go. They're really running strong. Oh, almost a little contact there with Chapman. amazing that they haven't made it. This is very difficult to control a car like that.
Great move by Spees there. Tried to make it 3 wide in the middle of the corner. Decided, I'm going to let it go. I'll get back up to them and try to make a pass next. As Foskey and Chapman continue to battle side by side as they make it way down the backstretch at Bristol.
Just loving these views we're getting. These are camera angles we haven't got. It's a little bit of a wider, larger stadium-type track, especially different from Weed Sport. Oh, some contact there. It looks like that'll definitely bring the caution out. Unfortunately, we're going to try and pull that replay up. Colin Boyle's crash. Brought to you by Coolray, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. So watch this right here.
Right in front of our leaders. Voiles got into the wall, and then it looked like John Hine ended up finishing it off as we were riding along with Dylan Perry, our leader, as that happened. And all of a sudden, Adam, look at that. 10 laps to go in tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic.
Funny how that happens. And you say 10 laps, like you said, it's still 25% of the race, so there is still a lot of laps to be had. What it's going to come down to, quite honestly, and you, the viewers, know this as well, what are we going to see on this restart? There's no reason to believe Dylan Perry can't have another crazy restart. I'm just hoping we stay penalty-free, and I hope we just get... I want to see that Aiden Young-Dylan Perry battle. I love watching Aiden Young dive to the bottom. I think his car is still in good enough condition that he doesn't have any bad damage on it. I mean, look how clean that thing looks. That is ready for a late race run, if you ask me.
Also in fourth, he's been fast all year long, is that John Foskey machine. He's made his way up 7 positions since the start of this race in that 128. Chip Bangers Racing. Also in 9th, DC Smith moved up through the field tonight.
This would be big for DC Smith. You know, right now he's sitting about, looks to be about 18, 17 possibly in point standing. So he's got to get up there. He's got to catch up. This could be a race that really helps him in the point standings.
As they are still waiting to get lined up. Pace lights are on. I see the Jordan Van Westen car is up towards the front there. I think he'll end up dropping back in the pack. Or going around the front way. There he goes out. Looks like the 25 machine of Cody Terry made a pit stop that time, Adam. Get some items on his car fixed before he comes back out for this green flag run.
Let me get your opinion here. We've seen maybe 5-6 cautions. Do we see one more caution? Do you think we see no more? Are we going green the whole time? I foresee maybe one more.
I foresee some contact probably. I think with the restarts, Dylan Perry, Aiden Young have been able to really get some good jumps here. I think it's going to be that 3rd, 4th, 5th through 8th pack that's going to get really racy here. We've seen Tater Williams battle up to 6th. Steven Spees has been competitive all night. Dylan Hutchinson, let's see where he's going to restart on the outside this time, which is going to be interesting because he's really liked that low line. So it's really shifts some guys around, and it'll be interesting to see what the different places on the track that they're at on this restart, what that does for them. As hopefully we have a great 10-lap shootout to end this Tennessee Moonshine Classic.
Yeah, we'll see if the pace truck pulls off. Like I say, it's a little bit higher.
And the lights are off. The iRacing pace truck dives in. And Dylan Perry brings us back to green at Bristol Motor Speedway. Chapman on the inside, Aiden Young and John Foskey battle as it's all of a sudden 3 wide and 2. And contact back in the pack.
Looks like we'll get yet another caution. We're going to try and pull that up. Looks like a Dylan Hutchison crash. Watch here towards the bottom of your screen. There in the middle, it looks like now just got spun around. A little bit of contact there. A lot more contact after the crash. Pretty common.
So I believe I called that. That was in that back half of that top 10. Knew it was going to be racy with the guys that we had back there. Not out of out of poor driving or intentional contact, but just trying to get as much ground on that restart as they could.
Well, you kind of toot your own horn. You were correct on calling that, and really it came earlier than I honestly expected. I also want to point out, we talked at the beginning of this race. My pick to win, and I still think he has a shot, was Aiden Young. But the other thing I said was this is going to be a statement race for Justin Thompson. I said he's either going to win this race and finally punch that ticket, or you're going to see him probably finish towards the bottom. We'll look at it right now. I don't even know if he's still running this race right now. Just not the night we expected to see, sitting 19th. Mr. Justin Thompson.
Hutchinson falls back to 16th after that wreck. He'd been running up near the front all night long. As we've got some other guys, let's see, Jordan Van Westen's up to 14th. That's up 5 spots from where he started. Andy Piercefield in that Coolray Racing number 75 up to 11th, up 5 spots, looking for a top 10 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll let this cycle through. Plenty of damage on the back of Andy's car there that we can see. DC Smith continues to run top 10. A great run by him, up 9 spots. And then the 128 of John Foskey currently running 4th, up 8 spots tonight.
Yeah, DC Smith and Foskey, their cars are looking good. I know it's a little rough on Andy's car right now, but he talked about how important it would be.
We'll go single file restart as Dylan Perry leads us off 4, and we are back to green in the Tennessee Moonshine Classic. Dylan Perry able to pull away from Aiden Young. John Foskey shoots to the inside trying to get past Chapman, and Spees and Williams follow him through 1 and 2.
They're bumping. Look how high Chapman's getting up there. Aiden Young also riding the high line, which we didn't see him do much in the beginning of the race. At this point, it feels like they're just going to have to settle for 2nd and 3rd as Dylan Perry, it just looks like he's in another dimension. He's honestly like the pace truck, just far and away. Look at this bumping and grinding there in the middle of the field. That's where the dirty action is right now. It is getting messy in the middle of the field.
Plenty of racing through 1 and 2. We're looking at 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. They're all battling for as much ground as they can as Dylan Perry, Aiden Young have pulled away. Dylan Perry currently with a 1-second lead as they are getting close. Chapman into the wall at the start-finish line as they go 3 wide.
Clearly Chapman got bumped, and you saw him run up there. I'm surprised we don't have a caution out right there. Everyone seemed to save it, but that is devastating for Zach Chapman.
It looks like back in the pack, Cody Terry got into some contact as well, as that contact here stretched these guys out as Chapman fell back to 10th, and they continue to battle with 5 laps to go at Bristol.
This is a huge race. We're going to see a big shakeup in terms of the points where everything shakes out, and I think that's really going to hurt Chapman. He had a really strong run, but hey, it's not over yet. We got 4 laps to go, and it's going to be intense.
After carrier heat races, it was very single file, not much racing throughout the field. A lot of followed the leader even, and this race has been nothing but excitement. But Dylan Perry has pulled away all night long, and this last restart was nothing different as he will come with 2 laps to go as Foskey puts pressure on Aiden Young for 2nd as they come to the start-finish line as well.
Yeah, basically it's going to, I mean, the only thing I think that could stop Dylan Perry was if lap traffic, we see contact there. It looks like Aiden Young did not give an inch, but John Foskey, he wants 2nd. He knows he might not get 1st, but wow, what a save there by Young to not only keep his spot, but hold 2nd.
Dylan Perry takes the white flag, gets through 1 and 2. Dylan Perry already a 2-time winner this year on the circuit, makes his way around. He'll come through 3 and 4. He is the winner of the Tennessee Moonshine Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway, picking up his 3rd victory of the season. Aiden Young, John Foskey, Steven Spees, and Brett Carlton will be your top 5.
What a show he put on. Way to go, Dylan Perry. Feel free to do a few donuts right there. Looking good. These fans have been out here all day through warm-ups to now. What a show you have put on, Mr. Perry.
So we will wait for the top 3 finishers, Dylan Perry, Aiden Young, John Foskey, to get lined up here in front of the fans as they are going nuts at Bristol Motor Speedway. As the Tennessee Moonshine Classic comes to a close, Dylan Perry picks up the victory. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will talk to your top 3 finishers. You're watching Extreme eSpeed TV.
Like 5 cars.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. The Tennessee Moonshine Classic for the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series has come to an end. And Adam, we will go down to our top 3 finishers. Who do you got with us?
Well, Travis, I've got Mr. Third Place John Foskey. And John, I'm going to admit it. We in the broadcast booth, we didn't mention your name a ton, but then towards the end of the race, you just continued to climb the ladder and get up there. Is a third place finish something that you're pretty proud of tonight?
Oh yeah, this is a win, especially at this place. It was hard to pass, and just racing for points. I knew it wasn't gonna be a real racy racetrack, and took my time. Started 12th, I think, and just tried to save my equipment and be there at the end. And fortunately, I got up there to the top 5 and started picking them off.
9 spots gained is what you got from start to finish. We heard a lot of drivers talk about, this might be a single file race. Just how hard was it? I mean, you had to avoid some chaos between some of these cautions, but how hard was it, or maybe it wasn't, to climb those 9 spots?
It was terrifying. All the wrecks and everybody in the line. Everything happens so fast here, and if you're not on your toes, you're gonna get caught up in an accident. And I was on my toes the whole time, just looking way ahead of me. Being prepared to check up. There's a lot of the race I was like half throttle, not even wide open, just lifting for people, and luckily got through all the traffic and got to where I could go wide open and just started trying to track Aiden and Perry down.
Well, one last question for you. You talked about there was a little bit of contact, maybe with 3 or 2 laps to go, where I thought you almost might get past Aiden Young there for a second. First of all, it's good to have you back, John. And did you think you might get second there in those final moments?
I'm not going to say I had second, but I felt like I should get second. I mean, I know Aiden was blocking, and I don't blame him. I would have did the same thing, especially at this track. And he gave it his all, and I tried to move him, I ain't gonna lie, and didn't want to turn him, but it just didn't work out, and I'm content with third. Good points not for me, and good win for Perry. He deserves it.
We appreciate it, John. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Cedar Lake as we bring in the man himself. Travis, why don't you get us in here with Aiden Young, and it's good to have Aiden here in the booth with us. Aiden, second place, you were just a rock star behind Dylan Perry. And did you feel like there was ever a point, though, after some of those restarts that you'd be able to catch him?
Yeah, I didn't really think so, but I was giving it my best.
Aiden, we saw you were really sticking to that low lane throughout the race, and then some of those late race restarts, you got forced to the outside. Were you preferring a certain lane, or were you just given whatever you were given there at the end?
Kind of given whatever I was given, but I like the bottom a lot.
Aiden, how much time did you spend this past week at Bristol? We talked to different drivers. Some guys, they might just practice, day of or just a couple days before. You clearly, it looks like this was not your first rodeo running laps around here. How much time did you put into this Bristol track?
Yeah, not really much. I think I just practiced for like an hour, then had to run for the fire department. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. Congrats again. This will be a big points race for you, Aiden, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. I'll be here.
And now joining us, Adam, we have tonight's winner, the Tennessee Moonshine Classic winner, and our 3-time winner this season thus far, Dylan Perry. Dylan, it looked like you had the fastest car all night. Could you kind of tell us about your strategy tonight and where was the fastest lane on the track?
Well, from the start of the race, it was just kind of, it changed a bunch throughout the night, and I was lucky enough to kind of be at the right place at the right time whenever I was moving around, because I'd occasionally just try something a little different, and I got lucky that it happened to be coming in at that time, and just restarts were crucial, that I could get enough gap on a restart to not have to worry about the air helping them a whole bunch behind me and catching me tremendously, because air at this track is crucial. If you can stay within that 5 or 6 car length gap, you can catch somebody like they're sitting still. So the restarts, I was trying to get enough gap where I could go out there and have clean air and drive as hard as I needed to, and didn't have to overshoot my corners to make up for what the air was helping the guys behind me do. But I was just at the right place at the right time. My stick guy in the infield, I was watching him, and on the restarts I could see him moving the sticks apart, and I was just hoping I could keep it going that way.
So Bristol, obviously well known for NASCAR Cup Series, which the leader has total control, and a lot of times restarts just go to the leader and they get going to green. This season so far, we've seen a lot of side-by-side racing going into one on restarts. What really stretched it out tonight that you were able to get such a good jump and jump out to a great lead right from the green?
The initial starts, it's always everybody's door to door, and you're going to be tight and close because you're all hitting that skinny pedal all at the same time, so you're all picking up the same amount of speed at the same time. And so that's usually why the first starts are crucial, that if you can just almost hit the gas as soon as that green comes out, instead of, it's almost like you're drag racing. You want to hit the gases and hit it on the green and not hit it on the red. So the initial starts, they're crucial. And then once it comes to where the leader is, I was trying to not start at the same spot every time, because it makes it easy to predict, and that's where it comes to the side-by-side and going down the straightaway. And I was trying to just be smart about it and race a smart race and hopefully pull it into victory lane.
Well, Dylan, we're going to let you enjoy this night. But before that, we have Cedar Lake Speedway coming up next. How early do you hop on, the rig and start racing at that track? Is it, as soon as tomorrow, or do you kind of wait till just, week of the race?
Well, with racing just kicking off, with my first race being this past weekend, it'll probably be race day, may get a practice in, may not, just go for it and go have fun, because I'm on here to have fun and I enjoy racing with these guys. So I'm not going to do a whole bunch of practicing. If I'm able to squeeze one in, then I would be ecstatic, but I just like having fun racing with these guys.
Awesome night. Thank you, Dylan, for joining us tonight. Congratulations on tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic victory at Bristol.
Thank you.
So Dylan Perry becomes our first 3-time winner during this 2022 Coolray Pro Dirt Late Model Series season. He also adds another victory to his career total, now with 4 in the Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series. Adam, let's pull up that finishing grid for tonight's Tennessee Moonshine Classic and see how they round up throughout the field.
Yep, definitely. So we'll try and get it up on your screen. But Dylan Perry, Aiden Young, John Foskey, obviously your men on the podium. But behind him, tough breakdown at the end for Steven Speeds. He showed promise. Really thought he might get that third place. Wouldn't be shocked if we see him in third or better next week from Cedar Lake. Brett Carlton, a name, I don't even know if we mentioned Brett Carlton much on this broadcast, but he was quick last week, snuck himself into the top 5 spot. Credit to him for a great evening. Tater Williams, of course, one that we want to watch, and I really expect him to get a win soon this season. Jacob Lassiter, 7th. DC Smith, man, that was a fun car to watch. And credit to DC. We heard I believe it was John Foskey talking about how terrifying it was to try and move up 9 spots. Credit to DC Smith. He kept that car from getting absolutely destroyed. He gained 10 spots from start to finish. Only one who got close to him was John Foskey with his 9 added. So, of course, behind him, John Hine, Brandon Bender, Zach Chapman. Tough break for Chapman there at the end. Really looked like he might be pulling the top 3. I'm sure he's going to go to bed frustrated, but he should not be disappointed. Great run out of Zach Chapman. He can roll with these guys, being a rookie in this league. Of course, Brian Boyles, Dylan Hutchison, Cody Terry, Andy Piercefield getting that top 15 finish. And behind them, Jordan Van Westen, Dustin Kenyon, and Colin Boyles.
So that is our finishing lineup here from Bristol Motor Speedway. A great Tennessee Moonshine Classic event, Adam. Adam, we're back next week, next Wednesday, Cedar Lake Speedway for the Coolray Challenge race number 1. Again, that'll be here on Extreme eSpeed TV, your official home for the entire 2022 Coolray Pro Late Model Dirt Series. Thank you for joining us again tonight. The crowd was great in Bristol, Tennessee. It was fun as always. Thank you for joining us, and you've been watching Extreme eSpeed TV.
Hello, my name is Benny Boudreau, and I created the Springrthm app. The Springrthm app allows someone who doesn't have access to a Spring Smasher to be able to set their car up to their manufacturer's suggested install loads and center to centers, as well as be able to figure out their dynamic loads, as well as make adjustments to them to make their handling of their car better. For someone who does have a Spring Smasher, Springrthm will greatly reduce the amount of time to figure out those new stack setups by allowing for instantaneous spring rate changes, as well as load changes. Springrthm will even make sure that your setup doesn't coil bind at the loads that you're trying to hit. For only $4.99 a month, you too can have access to the same information that top late model teams across the country are using to gain a competitive advantage.
Racers that win, pour it in, and we appreciate you.
This copyrighted broadcast of Extreme eSpeed TV Network is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without express written consent of the Extreme eSpeed TV Network is strictly prohibited. We hope you've enjoyed this broadcast.